because it irked me to hear this from a former head coach and a good head coach and a guy who I have a lot of respect for as a head coach in Herm Edwards when he said this last week. Herm Edwards.
Don't have that one.
Oh, I thought we had that one. Well, that's kind of, we're so busy talking ball we couldn't. I
was busy making fun of you. I don't know where we're at here.
We'll find it. It was refreshing to hear Lance Reisland say what he was saying about you got to go out and you got to win football games. Because I think that, I really tell you, I think that our goals with the Browns are different from the actual team's goal. I think I'm not even talking about the team. I'm talking about the organization in general. Okay, here's Herm Edwards and what he said.
At the end of the day, I think you got to start the rookie. I just do. You drafted two of them. You drafted four. I mean, you drafted two rookie quarterbacks. You can't say, well, hey, man, I'm going to put you on the shelf. What are you putting them on unless you're going to trade one of them? To me, it's like, okay, we drafted two of them. Then somebody got to play. You were 3-14. So you got to make a decision. If you start a rookie quarterback, the fans are going to say, we're okay with that. We can live with that. Midway through the season, is he a better player? Is the team better because he's the quarterback? That's going to be the critical part. You drafted two rookie quarterbacks. Not one, you drafted two of them.
I think that's nuts.
I do too.
I think if you want to just keep the fans happy, yeah, go ahead and do that. But I don't think the fans are going to be happy. I think that you're going to be, no matter what, if the quarterbacks aren't good, you're just going to be accused of putting them in a bad spot.
Well, and you can talk about drafting two rookie quarterbacks. How about we talk about where they were drafted? It's not as if this is a Washington situation where they drafted two rookie quarterbacks where one of them was, the number 2 overall pick and Robert Griffin III and Kirk Cousins was in the 4th round. Dillon Gabriel, 3rd-round pick. Sheduer Sanders, 5th-round pick. We're not talking about drafting a number 1 overall guy. Like if the Browns would have stuck at number 2 and picked Sheduer Sanders there, which I don't think was ever a real possibility, but certainly was talked about. If they would have done that, then yes, start Sheduer Sanders because he's the number 2 overall pick, and that is the fair expectation for a guy in that spot. We're talking about a guy that was drafted in the 3rd round and a guy that was drafted in the 5th round.
Yeah.
Just because you drafted two of them doesn't mean that they should start. If you drafted one of them high, it's a different story. They're mid-round draft picks.
Well, listen, and I think that this is where, and I kind of want to know. I do think there's some people, like we got a caller earlier who was, pretty up on the Browns saying that they could win 7 to 9 games. I want to know from people, are you more interested, personally for you, are you more interested in trying to win games or seeing what the quarterbacks look like? Because I think that we're at a bare bones disconnect. I mean, I got a football coach and Lance Reisland, that's good stuff. And what he's saying is true because you start the season, you try to win, you keep your veterans in. And then hopefully you're in a better position where your offense runs as fluently as it possibly can to where you get to a point where, yeah, you know what? You're not going to be an explosive offense and you're going to lose some games against some explosive offenses. You're hoping that those offenses that you're playing against are going to put themselves in a bad position to go out and lose a game because it's easy to lose a game, as we've seen. There's some teams that, they're just that damn good and they're that well ran that they go out and they take a lot of games. That's the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. And a lot of other teams, it's what can you do to not lose that game? And if you can minimize your mistakes, I'm telling you, you will win more games than what Vegas thinks you're going to win. It's not a hard concept, and it sounds so easy because it is such an easy concept. You eliminate turnovers, you eliminate mistakes as best you can, you get the bare bones football, and you can let a lot of other teams, because you're not that much worse than a lot of other teams because it's the NFL, you let the other team beat themselves. You let them commit bad penalties. You let them commit pre-snap penalties that put them at 1st and 15. You let them go ahead and turn the ball over, and you take advantage of that. You take advantage of short fields and come out with 3 instead of going for the gusto because you don't have a surefire explosive offense. And you see what you can do from that. Like that's what they're going to do, and they're not going to win a ton of games, but they're not anywhere near where they weren't trying to even win in the last month of the season last year. So 3-14 can be a deceptive number, can be a deceptive record. But you start the season, and I think naturally, you'll get to Sheduer and you'll get to Dillon Gabriel, or Dillon Gabriel, then Sheduer, or whatever. You will eventually get to that. But when you start the season in reverse, the fans, they'll believe in it because they want the Christmas present. They want to see what the rookies have. But then you will lose your veterans, and then you definitely ain't winning nothing. And when you lose the locker room and those veterans start to talk, and they start to talk to the ownership that loves to talk to their veterans, okay, That's where the best laid plans end up with you out the door. So you got to do what's right by the veterans. We got to talk real world about this. So, I'm interested in the quarterbacks too. I think they're a Christmas present. I want to see what especially Sheduer. I want to see what he has at an NFL level. But you open up Christmas presents in the wintertime. You don't open them up in August and start to say, well, he gets ready for that. I'm telling you right now, and if I go ahead and I eat it, fine. It's great because we'll end up being a good football team. But no, there's no way on earth. I might try to open up my eyes to it, but I just don't think they're going to have the reps, the capacity within this offense, and certainly they will not have the chance to gain the experience to be week one starters for this football team. The only way they do it is basically what you did when you had Deshaun Kaiser start, which is you trade for a guy and then cut him because you want the picks for next year. You don't really have that with Joe Flacco.
Nope.
And if Kenny Pickett, if there's a trade offer out there, fine. I'd be surprised if there were, even though Mike Florio says there possibly. I think it's a basic, simple question. I think that you can look at it and go, if I were making an argument for either side, Danny Cunningham in for Tone today. He's in for Tone tomorrow. Jason is in for Tone on Thursday, and Daryl Ryder is in on Friday morning. Also, Brian Geltzeiler, he was originally scheduled at 9:22 this morning. He'll be joining us at 8:22 tomorrow morning to talk about the Cavs and their future as well, where there's some wild stuff going on in the NBA and whether or not the Cavs should be involved in it. I'm going to get to this Pablo Torre report coming up here momentarily because I want to load some audio in to see if we can get some proper context out of all of this, because reading through it, you can tell it's very wonky, very deep dive stuff that is, I mean, we're talking about some wild stuff over here, friends. Some wild stuff. I think that if I wanted, I'm always pro winning. I'm always pro trying to win. I think that the teams tank. They usually end up tanking again, and they are just bad organizations, and they always end up at the top of the draft, and you always wonder why. The Jacksonville Jaguars have tanked a bunch of times, and they still are not a serious franchise. The Browns have tanked. They're not taken seriously. The Jets have tanked. You know exactly what I think of them. There's teams that end up at the top of the draft naturally. They're there for 1 year, and they try to move on. I think it's always in your best interest to try to win. But I do think that if I was looking at it from the other side, well, Ken, you could always say, Kenny, I don't have faith in this front office. I don't have faith in this head coach. I think that I'm interested more in whether or not they could prove me wrong with one of these rookie QBs. I'm more interested in seeing what these rookie QBs can do, whether or not we actually need a quarterback next year. Because I've said, like, as of right now, and it does sound like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth when you say this, but as of June 24th, you're taking a quarterback next year. Because I haven't had the chance to see any proof of either one of these guys. And I say that knowing that neither of these guys, they probably both will, and they probably will both do it for multiple games. But neither of these guys have to start a game for me, and I could go, okay, yeah, you still need a quarterback next year. I don't need to see anything, because if they don't need to see it, I sure as hell don't need to see it, because they're in a desperate mode at the end of the season. So there's a lot of argument to make to say you don't have faith in them, you're moving on to the next quarterback, or you need to see whether or not one of these guys are here. Or you can just say, you know what, Kenny, I just want to be entertained. And I find this to be boring. I find this offense to be boring, which is a terrible reason for it. It's terrible. But I think it's secretly the way a lot of people think, where they want to see touchdowns. They want to see big throws. They want to see big completions. And they don't feel they're going to get any of that from Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. They want to take their gamble on the new rookies. It's not good reasoning to me, but it's probably the prevailing reasoning with a lot of people.
I do think it's the prevailing reason with a lot of people. And I also think the other way that you can shape this is that if you want to see those guys because you want to know if they're capable of winning, that's what this season, at least part of it, I don't think all 17 games should be about that, because I do tend to side with you. I think starting the veterans early in this season is the way that you do need to go, because if you do start one of the rookies and it doesn't go well, the season is over because you don't have anyone to turn to. You're going to lose the veteran in the locker room. That's the stuff that you can't afford to do. But I do think at part of the season, we're going to get to a point, because looking at the first 6 games of that schedule, the Browns are not going to be, I think, in contention at that point. Like, I think at that point you will know, okay, this is not a playoff team. So then I do think you can start to see what you have and maybe set one of those guys up for success at a certain point there. So then it does become less about winning games once you realize, okay, maybe this team's just not going to win a lot of games, and more about what do we have moving forward.
I look at it a lot like a card game. I got to leave myself some outs. And if I go and I start to try to win, start the season by trying to win games, to me, that's the easiest play with your own team.
Yes.
There will be, I'm sure that Joe, the wheels will get shaky, or with Kenny Pickett, the wheels will get shaky, and we'll start to pound the drum for the rookies. And you're going, okay, naturally, I have another card to play. If I start the season out with the rookies and they're not ready to play, well, then I'm not a responsible coach. I didn't go by what my team needs. And I got no more fever for the rest of the year. I'm a lame duck coach by the time Thanksgiving comes around.
It becomes a very, very long march to the end of the season, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. And I think that then raises more questions, to your point, about the future of the franchise than there probably should be this season.
I want to get to this Pablo Torre story coming up momentarily, okay? I want to make sure I got all my nuts and bolts here correct first. I want to get to Mike and Stowe, who's on the phone right now. Mike, hello.
Good morning, Ken. Where's our friend Lyman today?
He's off for the week.
Was he on a glorious vacation or a staycation?
He's on a staycation. He's staying at home with his children right now.
Oh, good for him. Good for him. Hi, Lima, if you're listening at home.
He's not listening.
Ken, I know. You probably love that. But I will say this. This is what I think. This is I told you, I think it was on a week ago, this is a glorious tank. And this is all about evaluation and development this season. And the way we're going to do that is, we're not going to win games. It's cute how you guys have to play that side first, but I can just call in and just be straightforward about it.
What is win games to you? Is 7 games winning games? I mean, that's not asking for the world.
No. What we want, we're draft assets next year. Whether either one of these 2 quarterbacks that we drafted are good, we want to see them this year. I do want to say that. Absolutely. But not right off the get. That first 6 games is a rip-roaring stretch. We need a veteran in there with that line, still working on things. We don't need one of these young guys getting killed trying to, in the first day of kindergarten. So let's just, go about it that pace. But we're not going to win more than 3 games this year. I don't care how we do it. I just don't think.
I disagree. I disagree.
Ken, all right, we'll bet a cheeseburger. But look,
no, I'm not allowed to bet. I think, and by the way, I also think it's pretty pathetic of us to bet over under 3 wins.
I'm sorry, but look, I'm just being real about our division, our competition, the schedule, all of it, and where we're at as a team. We've got new coaches at several key positions. We don't even have a quarterback set that was even playing last year for us. So, let's just be realistic about it. We're probably in the toughest division in football. I'm not a pessimist. I really have high hopes for the future. I think Andrew Berry is absolutely starting to turn it around with his picks and the way they're looking at this. I really do. This is his best draft he's had in the last 4, Ken. And I know it seems crazy, but if you look at what he's got out of the last 4, I don't see why that is crazy. But look,
I think I'd like to see them play real football before I say that.
It's a tough thing to say.
But look, we're going to be way high in next year's draft. And listen, this is the best thing. We don't have enough to get over a hump no matter what we do this year. Let's just agree to that. Do you think there's any way we win our division? If you think so, you make everybody in Cleveland laugh right now and tell me why. But this is what I think. If we go out there, learn, compete, we're still not going to be able to win a lot of games. But even if one of these 2 quarterbacks is good, we drafted, I'm hoping one of them are. Then next year's assets, even when we're low on the schedule or we're drafting early, us and the Jacksonville pick, now we're stacking it up. Now we're coming with a head of steam.
I think a lot more people, Mike, and thank you very much for the call. I think a lot more people think that your way than are willing to say it right now. I'm not. I don't think that way. I think that trying to win is always the best policy for everything. But I think that a lot more people feel your way than they're willing to admit, where they don't think that they're going to win many games. They think they're going to win 3, maybe 4 games, and that they need to go out there and they need to find out what they have in the quarterbacks. I don't think that they have very much trust in the organization or the head coach, which, again, then if you're so excited about Sheduer or Dillon, I don't know why you leave them in the hands of guys you don't trust. But that's, again, I don't know how you feel that they're going to overcome people that sabotage young players, if that's how you feel. But I think that's an entertainment conversation for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more people that feel the way Mike does than what you and I feel.
I think that they're going to try to win games. I just don't think they're going to win a lot of games. I do think that this year is going to be a year where they learn a lot about who they can be in the future and what this team can turn into. I just don't think they're going to be all that successful. It's not because they're going to go out there and try and lose games every Sunday. That's not what this year is going to be about. I just don't expect them to win a lot of them.